Saturday morning. And that means it's time to catch up on the local and statewide high school sports scene. Welcome to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. Now, here are your hosts, Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Good Saturday morning to you out there on this first Saturday for the month of August in 2019. It is August the 3rd, and welcome to High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law. Engineer and action, you call 757-INJURED for Larry King. I am Matt Hatfield.
I am the coach, Ed Young.
And Thomas Simmons, our producer engineer this morning. We're taking you up till noon today here on High School Sports Talk, as we are literally, Ed, I think it is 26 days away from the first official high school football game, and then a bunch of scrimmages will be starting in the next week and a half, and we'll have tons and tons of football to talk about, and we'll be doing that today as well. But we'll first start off on a sad note. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of John Bird and the entire First Colonial community. John was a young man who was a midfielder on First Colonial's soccer team that made the state playoffs each of the past 2 years. He became ill in 2018. Doctors found a cancerous germ cell tumors, if you will, some cancerous germ cell tumors, and most of the team at FC decided to shave their heads in support of John while he underwent chemotherapy a year ago. He just graduated this year. Really saddened to report that yesterday morning John Bird died following his courageous bout with cancer. So we send our condolences to the Bird family and everyone connected to First Colonial. And Ed, according to a tweet I noticed from Andy Fox of Wavy TV 10, a rising junior Owen Ruddy of FC has received the John Bird Champion Belt Award for being the outstanding all-around member on the Patriots soccer team, Owen demonstrating some of the same qualities as their beloved team member. So once again, our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of John Bird and everyone connected to First Colonial and their soccer program.
Wow, yeah, that's tremendous loss.
It really is. We'll open up the phone lines if you want to talk high school sports, high school football, anything in the world of sports with us at 757-687-9494. That's area code 757-687-9494 on our Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline. Give us a call. You can also hit us up on Twitter at HS Sports Talk 941, HS Sports Talk 941. A real quick look at the lineup today. We're going to have guests almost just about every segment this morning. We'll be chatting with Clint Wright, head basketball coach at Lakeland High School in Suffolk, one of your rivals, if you will, Ed, as they have the Old School Classic today at 10:20. It's usually at Lakeland High School, but if I understand right, it's at Kings Fork this year?
Excuse me, that's correct. Kings Fork High School, a little bit bigger venue, and trust me, that place will be packed. And somebody wants to watch some former basketball players, some of the greats that played at the four old high schools in Suffolk, that being John F. Kennedy, Forest Glen, John Yates, and, of course, my school, Suffolk High School. Time to come out and watch some pretty good basketball, too, for some older gents out there. I
was actually speaking with someone last night who said he's going to try to make the Suffolk game, is it 3, is it right?
3 o'clock.
He's going. Someone I was talking to last night is going to attempt to make that and then get over to the Pro-Am for the finals over at Norview High School today, which will start up probably a little bit after 4 o'clock. So if you're a hoops fan, and even though it's summertime and football's here, you got 2 great opportunities with the Old School Classic over at Kings Fork. Just some great old yesteryear players, and even some of the flashback guys from the high school college ranks here on the Pro-Am at Norview. But we'll talk about the Old School Classic with Clint Wright coming up today here. It's going to be, I'm sure, another strong crowd over there and a fun atmosphere. Around 10:45 or so, Norview head football coach Delton Cotton, we believe, will be joining us. He's also the athletic director there of the Pilots. And we love when Delton Cotton comes on, Thomas, because it wasn't Delton Cotton who made Ed Young wear the blue suit. However, I believe it was Jonathan Wilson, your former player and the girls basketball coach over there, who you guys had a friendly gentleman's agreement when the 2 teams from Norview and Nansemond ever met in the playoffs. And you were excited for 3 quarters because it looked like John would be wearing one of your suits that you'd pick out, but you ended up having to don the blue suit. So we always thank Coach Cotton for putting together a 4th quarter comeback, even though we did feel for the Warriors and still do, not holding that lead. Nothing personal against the kids over at Nansemond, but we did enjoy the Cotton comeback because you had to don the blue suit.
Yeah, I should be sending Coach Cotton to still paying on that suit years later.
He's still paying on it?
That was an Armani. I can't. That's an expensive suit.
That was not an Armani suit.
All right. Look at the tag and put down what you want to put
That was
down.
not one of Pat Riley's suits. That was not one of Pat Riley's suits.
All right.
You need to see.
I'm
by
just
the way,
trying to tell you.
You would find it very interesting. I think Dan Lebatard did the. I don't know if you saw Thomas, the one-on-one sit down with Pat Riley. That's you probably can find it if you look up on YouTube or ESPN.com. It's a really good sit down with the former Lakers, Knicks, and Miami Heat coach, and now the Miami Heat boss, if you will, Pat Riley, who I think you guys are distant cousins, right? He's from Schenectady, and you're from what part of PA?
The big thriving metropolis of Clearfield.
There you go. You're long-lost cousins. Talk with Delton Cotton. 11 o'clock hour, we'll have a jam-packed show. We got a Kermit Buggs, Kings Fork football coach, scheduled to join us. Former Penn State assistant and former Old Dominion assistant, Kermit Buggs. And they're doing this neat little mattress thing he'll tell us about, too, over there at Kings Fork today. So that's going to be busy at Kings Fork with the hoopage over there, the cagers, if you will, and then this mattress deal going on. They did one a couple weeks ago at, what school? I think Bayside did one. But you don't do a mattress thing, do you? One of those fundraisers? You'd probably fall asleep at the end of the fundraiser.
Yeah, I'd have to sample it, and if it's that good, then I'll probably have to get one myself. I'll be in the market for a new mattress here pretty soon.
Maybe he can give you a pitch today, and you'll be over there at Olsen Classic.
Yeah, I think it's about what? Next year, you keep a mattress for some like 7 or 8 years. You're supposed to, and get rid of it.
That would probably be about right.
I think I'm due for one.
2-for-1 special for Ed today, and we'll also talk about the Bulldogs football team, not just about mattresses. 11:20, new football coach at Grafton scheduled to join us in Erald Cobbins, and then 11:40, Denny Dodson of Woodside making time for us, and we appreciate it. They got a morning practice, so we usually leave that last segment open, but he's going to join us around 11:40 this morning. Head football coach of the Wolverines, or as our pal Dominic Velarde from the High School Football Scoreboard Show calls him, the Wizard of Woodside. Not the Wizard of Westwood. That would be John Wooden, who's no longer with us, the all-time great UCLA coach.
One of the, perhaps the best coach ever.
He's certainly, if he's not the best, he's one of the top 2 or 3, and you can make a case that he is. And we'll talk about them going down from Class 6 to Class 5. As Woodside's one of the schools with this new realignment shuffle. We'll hit on that throughout the morning and go through some
Bill
of the...
Bill Snyder, the Wizard of college football, too.
Who's that? You said Bill Snyder?
Heard Bill Snyder called the Wizard?
Bill Snyder,
former Kansas State
just
head
retired.
coach,
yeah,
with his magic cotton bowl jacket.
Yeah, he was. Boy, what was his last year? Was he 82, 83? He coached into his 80s. I'm pretty sure. I thought
Snyder
he was
retired last.
Yeah,
just 79.
Oh, is he? Wow.
He had 2 stints at Kansas State. Just retired.
He did, and did a fantastic job there. And you think of the JUCO prospect. I always loved that team with L. Roberson and Darren Sproles. That was a great backfield combo. The one that upset Oklahoma at the end of the year. With that duo. Let's go to the phones at 757-687-9494. That's area code 757-687-9494 on the Trinity and Trilogy Tattoo Hotline. We were out at Virginia Wesleyan last week. If you missed any of that show, it's up on virginiapreps.com. Some of the interviews from High School Sports Talk, where we spoke with Derek Yogi Edwards of Lake Taylor. We had on... Oh, my goodness, Jeremy Jordan of Grafton, Trevor Dorsey of Peninsula Catholic, and Dave Macedo of the Marlins of Virginia Wesleyan. That's up there, as well as links to the 757 at 6 show, where we did the Friday night with Dwight Robinson of Lancetown and Keith Honore of Potomac. But first, we'll talk to him now, since I think we missed him last week, and that's our man Keith Holloman from Smithfield. Good morning, Keith.
How you doing, man? Hey, y'all, how you doing this morning?
Doing all right. You were missing in action last week.
Yes, I would take her. I'm gonna get my daughters out to my former team, the Southampton Indians. I will be back home. See y'all a couple games. I'll let you know that Coach Travis Parker will be home, man. See you a couple games.
You're gonna see a couple Southampton games this year. All right.
Yes, sir. Everybody thought I'm moving, sir. I'm heading back across to my hometown, Southampton.
Southampton's going to have their work cut out for them this year, Keith. I mean, that Region 3A is no picnic. You got Lafayette moving down. You still got Norcom to contend with. FIBA's very, very strong. And watch out for even Doug Pereira at York, and Hopewell up in Richmond's really good. So they're going to have their work cut out for them over there in Region 3A. 13-school region, but only the top 8 make the postseason.
Yes, sir. I know Travis had the boys ready. They don't get suited up. They'll be ready. They got a big scrimmage coming up a couple of weeks from now.
Who they scrimmaging?
I think they're going. I don't know for sure that. That's it. I look at Mac Prep. They're going at Rocky Mountain, North Carolina.
Well, sometimes Max Preps will have information that isn't 100% accurate. You said Rocky Mountain, North Carolina.
Yeah, down there, them jamboree down there.
While you're going through that, I'm going to try to see if I can pull up here. It looks like I'm showing a scrimmage, Keith, for Southampton on Friday, August 16th at Southampton against Sussex Central.
They play Sussex in the district game.
And I'm showing a scrimmage on Friday, August 23rd at Northampton as well.
Okay, I know they play Sussex like in the travel.
In the Tri-Rivers District, correct. Yeah, that's probably not right on what I'm looking at here. The Northampton is probably correct on the August 23rd, and then that Jamboree that you're speaking of is probably their first scrimmage. A lot of coaches will do that first one. They'll do a tri-scrimmage or a quad scrimmage. Then their second one, they want to have the filmed, just one-on-one, if you will, with another team. So that's probably what they're doing there.
Just a couple things I have to add.
What you got?
My daughters go out to the kid from Harrison High School got tried to gun down. The 15-year-old kid. He played for the Harrison Hurricane football team.
I'm not familiar with what you're speaking of, but
I think he played with Coach Massenberg. I think he played JV or varsity.
Okay, they had a kid that passed away.
He got gunned down.
Oh, it's terrible to hear.
Then couple of things. I see Hampton University got a transfer from Florida State.
They did. DeAndre Francois, quarterback.
And last thing, I hope y'all good luck to the Warriors this year. Hope y'all can compete this year in the district.
Is that good luck to his Warriors basketball team or the football team or both?
Football and basketball.
Okay, you're giving them good luck.
Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And y'all have a nice day.
You too, Keith. Enjoy your weekend. The one and only Keith from Smithfield here on High School Sports Talk. And we actually had Justin Conyers on this 757 at 6 a couple weeks ago. If you missed that, it's up on our ESPN Radio 941.com podcast page. But you like the makeup of this group this year. You think they're going to be right there in the mix among the better teams in the Southeastern District with Indian River and Oscar Smith, do you not?
I really think they got a good shot. Really got a good shot. They get, high school kids, just don't get over cocky and, don't forget you got to keep working. They can do it. I think he's got enough talent to do it.
Yeah, that's the key. Let's take one more caller here before we head to break. Let's do that at 757-687-9494. We say hello to, this is one of our favorites. Keith is right there, and so is this guy. Demetrius on the Northern Neck. Demetrius, how are you, sir? Demetrius, are you there?
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Doing well. How about yourself?
How is the dynamic duel doing?
We're hanging in there. I'm sleepy and Ed's cranky, so
we are POW Zoom banging our way through just as the original dynamic duel.
Well, that sounds good because you guys are rolling this morning. I'm enjoying listening to you as I'm driving. But I wanted to touch bases on the New York Yankees in this Boston series. They lost 3 out of 4 last week. They bounced back. They won the one game in Boston, came back last night and won. And I hear a lot of people complaining that they didn't make a move on the market during the trade situation.
Ed was one of them.
I was one of them.
And I don't think they needed to make a move because you're just not going to give your key minor league players up for something that you can't get back in return. So I kind of wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts, and do you think that this team can go deep into the playoffs and also possibly win the World Series?
All right, thank you for the call. Hold that thought, Ed. We're going to take a timeout. We're going to tease the listeners. We come back, Ed will give you his thoughts and his mini Yankee rant right here on High School Sports Talk, and then we'll delve right into our high school sports topics right here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Playoffs?
Recapping another busy week of prep sports. It's High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Back here on High School Sports Talk with the coach, Ed Young. Matt Hatfield here. We'll be talking with Clint Wright of the Lakeland Cavaliers basketball program in just a bit. But before we went to break, Demetrius, our pal from the Northern Neck, called in, Ed, about the Yankees. I got to get on you. Why are you such a Yankee supporter? They don't have any Hampton Roads products on the team. They don't have a Ryan Zimmerman. They don't have a Brandon Lau from your school, in fact. With
they will
Tampa
get
Bay.
Brandon Lau eventually. I make that prediction.
I hope not.
3 years ago, I'm sticking to it.
Because then you'll just be more annoying than you already are. And then they don't have Daniel Hudson, who they should have probably picked up, right?
Yeah, they didn't pick up anybody over the break. They could have picked up Danny Hudson. Did he play PA, Prince Anne?
He did play Prince Anne and Old Dominion. That's correct.
They could have picked him up for bullpen help.
Solid reliever.
Starter. Yeah. I'm a big Yankee fan, but it doesn't mean I can't give constructive criticism. I know you don't give up the farm system. I understand all that. But there's enough pitchers out there that they didn't have to get Zach Greinke like Houston did, but they could have got somebody help that rotation. They're going to need it down the road.
I just want to know when you're going to finally pay up and wear the jersey. I got one that fits you, too.
I don't even remember the bet now.
Yeah, a couple years ago. My Diamondbacks will never.
I don't even know what I'm doing.
The Diamondbacks will never win more games than the Yankees probably ever again. So I got to capitalize on this situation. especially now that they've decided to mortgage their future this past week. I don't know what they were doing. That's just terrible.
They threw in the towel, it's called, and they're going to reload for down the road.
They were watching Rocky IV, and the GM decided to listen to what was, oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank on the trainer's name. It wasn't Rocky, the other guy. I'm drawing a blank on his name in the movie now.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about. Throw in the towel. Throw the towel.
Yeah.
They threw in the towel.
I know you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a total blank.
Oh, I got a picture of it.
Yeah, I can see his face.
Yeah, everything.
We got to look up the name of the guy. Oh, my gosh. I can't believe this is terrible. Apollo's trainer, Duke. That's what it was. It was Duke. My man, Duke. Throw the towel. Throw the towel. Tony Duke Evans. Yeah, that was the guy. Portrayed by Tony Burton. There you have it. All right, this time on High School Sports Talk, brought to you by VirginiaPreps.com. I'm proud of you, Ed. You didn't go too long and didn't, use any bad words.
I'm not going to kill him. I mean,
you're nice and calm. Cool, calm, and collective.
I could do about it, but they're going to need somebody. Can they win the World Series? Yeah, but so about 4 or 5 others. I think right now it's Houston and the Dodgers in the World Series.
I agree with you. That'd be a repeat of 2 years ago when the Astros won in 7 games. We're joined by a special guest now. He played his college hoops at Norfolk State. You, in fact, coached his nephew, Nick Wright. He is the head basketball coach of the Lakeland Cavaliers. Just finished up his 7th year there, 15-win season for them out in Suffolk. And we say good morning to Coach Clint Wright as we talk about the Old School Classic this morning going on at Kings Fork. Coach Wright, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Good morning, Matt. And hey, Coach, how you doing this morning?
I'm all right, Clint. I hope you got the atomic bomb on. You're loose and you're stretched because you're getting a couple minutes in there today, aren't you?
Actually, Coach, that's called Tiger Bomb, and yes, I've got that. I've got that in my bag also.
All right, put a lot of that on because a lot of you guys are going to need that today.
Man, we're going to need Tiger Bomb, ice, some wraps. The whole locker room is going to smell like Bengay. I can assure you of that. We're going to come out looking very shiny and loose for sure.
Because if people don't understand this Old School Classic, you've got some return. It's alumni games from the former high schools in Suffolk. John Yates, your school, John F. Kennedy, Forest Glen, and Suffolk High. For those people who don't understand, and I coached at Suffolk High, but the tradition and history of Suffolk high school basketball rivals anybody anywhere. It really does. You even had a few pros out there.
And that's a profound statement, Coach. I do believe that basketball is the heartbeat of Suffolk. Naturally, football games are played, but I think folk come out to see this game called basketball. It's a natural high to watch players that have formerly played within the city and still have an opportunity and the ability to play. And again, it is such a great buzz about what's going on, and people chuckle and say, "You actually still play?" And yeah, we attempt to. So hopeful, folk will come out not to necessarily laugh at us, but potentially be entertained.
Well, let's do this, Clint. Tell the folks the lineup for today, and what year is this for the Old School Classic?
This is the 6th year of the Old School Classic. We starting off at noontime with a female exhibition game. It'll cap off with Forest Glen ladies playing against a combination of Suffolk High and John Yates ladies, and that'll take place at 12. We've got a newcomer starting at 1 o'clock, Northampton High School out of the Eastern Shore will be playing against Franklin. That'll be at 1 o'clock. At 2 o'clock, we've got John F. Kennedy playing against Forest Glen. And then at 3 o'clock in what we call the nightcap, it'll be John Yates playing against the undefeated in this event, Suffolk High Red Raiders.
Now, Clint, let's go over the genesis of this event. A lot of people hear alumni game, okay, I'll come down, run up and down the court for 10 minutes. Everybody, and like you said, everybody laughs. But I got to assure people that's not what this event's about. But let's go over the genesis of this, how this all started.
Well, again, it started off with the late, great Michael P. Bird Britt. He asked for players of the city of Suffolk to participate in an event. He had some teams coming in from Washington, D.C. that could not make the event. And he said, hey, you think we can get a couple Suffolk teams? And we all showed up as a John Yates, as a John F. Kennedy, as a Suffolk High, and as a Forest Glen. Again, the following year, Britt D.C. teams came to the event. And I just took the idea and decided to continue it in a fundraising fashion, for Lakeland High School boys basketball. So we continued the tradition, that the great and late Michael Britt had actually started.
And for those who don't know, Michael Britt, affectionately known as P-Bird in Suffolk, 6'6", 6'7", tremendous high school player, went on to the University of D.C., had a shot at the pros, played all over the place overseas. So he had one of the original strong backgrounds in Suffolk basketball in itself. But let's also talk about some of the other players from past history, your ear a little bit ahead of time, and some of those people that will be actually making appearances in the games today.
Well, the list is very talented. I mean, you got Lamont Struthers that played at Forest Glen High School. You've got Tony Smith, Suffolk High. These guys have played, at the professional level. You've got Eric Williams that played at Forest Glen, Anthony Reed that played at Forest Glen. Of course, yours truly that played at John Yates High School. The majority of these teams has at least 6 to 7 players that actually play together. Now, some of the teams have players that attended the respective high schools, but we've got 6 to 7 core guys on each team that will be participating in this group. And you're talking about 58 participants in this year's event, which is the largest number that we've ever had thus far.
Right now, your games are, if I'm not mistaken, you play, is it 2 16-minute halves?
Actually, we've been debating about that. We're looking at potentially going an 18-minute running clock. Want to give everyone an opportunity to play. The rosters are right around the 12 to 13 in average, and a running clock that's too short might not give an individual time enough to get tired. So we're going to look at moving it to an 18-minute running clock, and it'll be live the last 2 minutes of the first half and the last 2 minutes of the second half, just in case the game's a little close, and then we can start strategizing and things of that nature.
We're chatting with Clint Reddy, he's the head boys basketball coach of the Lakeland Cavaliers, our guest here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. The 6th year of the Old School Classic going on. It's today at Kings Fork High School in Suffolk. Ladies in action at noon. Then you got 1 o'clock Northampton against Franklin, 2 o'clock John F. Kennedy against Forest Glen, and 3 o'clock John Yates playing Suffolk High. As you see some of the best ballers that have come out of the 757 and specifically the Suffolk area of the 757 in action today. And what's the admission price, Coach?
Well, we're asking for a donation of $5. That's not necessarily the amount that you have to have, but a monetary donation of any sort. We will be greatly appreciative. Again, this is a fundraiser for Lakeland boys basketball. And we're so grateful that, of course, the location has changed. We're thankful that Kings Fork High School the administration has allowed us to hold this game at Kings Fork High School. Our AC has been on for about 10 days, and it's currently in test, and we don't want to get a full house and then all of a sudden the temperature drop. That will make for a very uncomfortable event. So we're here at Kings Fork with a phenomenal hospitality. They're treating us like kin, I guess, because we're not playing against them. But the fact that they're doing that is a great honor, and we're grateful that Suffolk supports Suffolk indeed.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, last year, seeing what your program did and Ed's over at Nans whenever in Kings Fork, it was neat to see the rivalry pick back up some steam with the holiday tournament and what you guys all did at the end of the year. I want to ask you, I know Ed looks forward to this every year, as do many from Suffolk, as this thing has just been a big turnout each and every year. I'm curious, you mentioned Suffolk being undefeated, Suffolk High, and all the success you've had in putting this on, you and your crew. Have you thought about expanding it and maybe bringing some teams outside of Suffolk, making this kind of an area thing? Or, I mean, certainly you guys are approaching that 10-year mark in about 3-4 years. Is that something that's crossed the mind at all, or no?
I tell you, Matt, you must be reading folks' minds from last night. Last night we had a tailgate. Approximately 300 to 400 people attended. I pulled up and I was like, hey, I didn't want cars parked right there, but it was no other choice the way it was. And that's what people were asking. Hey, if we looked into potentially getting teams out of Portsmouth and Norfolk to participate, and that is the plan. Naturally, it's going to span over 2 days when we do that. So I'll sit down with my 9-person committee and we'll talk about the logistics. And, most notable, you got to be committed. You can't say you want to play and a year from now, then all of a sudden you back out. I mean, we're getting rosters 4 to 6 weeks in advance. I've got to get my waiver forms all filled out. So you've got to be committed if you have interest in planning. And we've got a couple of teams that we're going to kind of venture out and speak to and see about the alumni. And I'm sure that those guys are playing, in various cities. But, yeah, we are looking to expand this into a 2-day event and looking forward to do that real soon.
And, again, with this entire area, not just Suffolk, Norfolk, Portsmouth, Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, you could put almost a league of alumni together to play. A lot of guys that have played, tons of guys played college ball. and a very, very big couple big handfuls that have gone on to play professional, not only NBA, but, all over the place. So it could be done. And the key here is the guys, you got to remember now, the mind is willing, but the body's a little different at age 40, 50, 38, whatever. You can't do what you did back in those days at Birdsong when a young Clint Wright was snatching 20 boards against my Raiders, but we had to make sure we let him do what he wanted, and we shut everybody else down there before we went on a 9-game winning streak against the Chargers of John Yates.
That is correct. I turned 50 this year, May the 3rd, man, and it seems like now everything aches. Just thinking about playing the game of basketball, everything aches. But like you said, we look forward to just getting out there. It's a reunion-centric environment. It is not a grit. We are out there talking with each other, talking about how things used to be. So we're playing the game with a smile on our face. Now, back in the day, that smile wasn't on our face. It was more of a scowl. But these are our reunion opportunities, too. I was just talking with Keith Stagg last night. He said he's had butterflies all week. Those are the feelings that we want to create with our players. We want you to have that butterfly effect and that nervousness and to see classmates that you haven't seen in a long time, and then them asking the question, can you still play the game of basketball? So this reunion event, we're going to try and continue it as long as we can get up and down the basketball court, and we do feel that enhancing it or increasing the basketball teams will definitely keep this thing going for years to come.
Hold on a second, Coach. Something you said just really struck a chord with me. Ed and I always say we see a high school kid that's like a sophomore and he's just imposing physically. We say there's no way he's 18 years old. He's got to be like 19, 20, 21, 22, if you will. You said you turned 50 this year. My goodness, you don't look it at all. I want to look like you when I'm 50.
Wow. Well, thank you a bunch. I tell you, I eating right, doing the right things with the body is very important. And then I every now and then try to provide an example with my Lakeland basketball players. But I am grateful to say that I'm a 50-year-old, basketball player, and I love to stay coached, but I play that game every now and then, and it just takes another week to recover. But definitely 50 years old. You got that right.
And too, Clint, the guys have to remember, too, at this age, you hurt something, it takes a lot longer to come back, and you got to go to work. It's not back in high school, you can take a few days off. The thing that I think is tremendous with what you've done with this event is you just went from not only the court and the games, you just mentioned last night you had a tailgate party. There's an after party tonight after the games this evening, and then you have an event, if I'm not mistaken, you also do it Sunday. So you've made it a community event. You've extended it over for a whole weekend, and it makes people actually put this down on their calendar as an event to come to. That's impressive to do it in that way, in that manner.
Exactly, Coach. And like you said, we try to make it in a weekend that attracts, everyone. We've got an alumni social that's going to take place later this evening at Roger Brown's. We were only allowed to sell 600 tickets, and 601 will not get in the door. So definitely we will pack the alumni social out on tonight. And then even tomorrow morning, we'll have worship service at Kings Fork Middle School. We'll be worshiping with Mount Suffolk. Pastor Carl Wilkins will be at his church, just closing out the weekend in a great fashion.
Carl's a former Suffolk High Raider, played for me, and tremendous young man. Just had a great conversation the other day. He rolled up into my house on his bicycle with his little one, so we talked basketball for about an hour and a half. So it is. It's a tremendous event, and I'm letting people know. Last week we were at the Virginia Wesleyan basketball camp to watch a ton of high school kids. Young kids, JVs, and varsity, whatever. Your squad was there, did a tremendous job. This week, we're looking at the alumni, older guys that can still play. Lamont Struthers played for the Trailblazers. Tony Smith almost hooked up with the Hornets. Got yourself. There's so many guys that have played the different eras. So people want to come out and see some basketball. I'm telling you, because I'm doing it. That this is fun to watch. It is competitive. Some guys got to calm down a little bit. But again, that's just what that Suffolk basketball is.
Yes, that is correct. You've got that. Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing each other and being able to walk off the court the same way we walked on it. That is the goal. Some are playing it with an edge and with a chip, but we're going to rectify that very quick. We've got some mature referees that's going to keep control of the things that are going on. We've got some rules in place to help the game to go along. Seventh foul. It's 1-1 throughout. So definitely we don't want to prolong it any longer than we have to, but we want to make sure we give the people a good price a good event for their price, for their money.
Make sure you save me my seats.
I got you, Coach. CIP.
That's what I like to hear. I love them letters.
Just keep him out of the hospitality room. He doesn't need to be in there.
Nah,
the sixth year of the Old School Classics today at Kings Fork High School. Get over there early, get yourself a seat, enjoy the action. The ladies in action at noon. And then you got 3 games to follow at 1 o'clock. Northampton out of the Eastern Shore against Franklin. Forest Glen playing John F. Kennedy at 2. And then John Yates against Suffolk High to conclude things.
Undefeated Suffolk High. I got to throw that in there.
Suffolk High. Yeah, you definitely like to say that. And I'm sure if you want to see photos afterwards, just check Ed Young's Facebook page in about 24 to 48 hours. Clint, thank you so much. Best of luck. And I'm sure we'll be watching you and the Cavaliers this winter and talking to you sooner than that, all right?
Hey, great. I appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you. You guys have a good day.
You
Hi,
too.
Clint.
That is Clint Wright, our guest here, the former Norfolk State Spartan, who is the head basketball coach of the Lakeland Cavaliers here on High School Sports Talk, brought to you by VirginiaPreps.com. We'll take a timeout. We've got more to do here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law on Ed Young and Thomas Simmons' favorite radio station. What is it, Ed?
ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
It is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law on this Saturday, the 3rd of August. Matt Hatfield here with you, alongside the coach, Ed Young. Thomas Simmons on the other side of the glass. Ed, we put up a poll question last night on our 757 at 6 Twitter page that has to do with the proposal. It's actually being, and something that's discussed. It's probably not going to happen, but it's something that was brought up in the rules clinics. And I know for a fact, someone tweeted at us, I forgot the handle, and I don't mean this to be nasty here, but I do know for a fact, because a high school coach that was at the clinic at Indian River High School in Chesapeake reiterated last night that it was brought up to, at the clinic. He was there, and there was a bunch of coaches. They make it mandatory you have to go to these rules clinics now, as you know, being a high school coach, that the VHSL is considering, if not for the playoffs this year, it will not happen regular season at all, so it's not going to happen the first 10 games, but it is on the table and hasn't been ruled out for this year, from what we've been told in certain portions of the state, the use of video instant replay during the playoff games, as the National Federation of High School voted to allow state associations the latitude of determining procedures to use this instant replay. The matter is in the early discussion stage, as I said, and it's not been ruled out for the playoffs of this year. But just your thought, as someone brought up to me last night, I think it'd be an absolutely good move. I don't see the negative to it. The one that was brought up to me, a little bit like the shot clock issue for basketball, is how you can execute it. And it's not a matter of having a camera. You're going to need 4, 5, 6 probably angles to get an actual review of something. And I don't know if the costs and there's that much technology at the hands of some of these administrators and schools for that.
Yes, I think it would be easier to get a shot clock in high school basketball than the replay for high school football, let alone any other sport. Because if you do it for football, would they not eventually say, well, we get a lot of crazy calls and arguments and whatever in basketball. So I just don't think enough high schools, the majority are going to be prepared to get the equipment. It's going to be costly. You got to get the right people to run it. And you got to stay on it, because look at the pros, how they screw theirs up, how long it takes. And sometimes that it doesn't work. I'm all for getting the calls correct. No question about that. And sometimes the officiating we see in the high school level leaves a little bit to be desired. But, of course, it's a lot of entry-level positions. I think as the higher up you go, college, pro, you got to be much better. Those should be full-time jobs. Officials in the college level and the pros, that should be a full-time position, and they should get paid accordingly. But I'm all for it. I don't see how it's going to be feasible. I don't see how it's going to happen.
Well, we'll ask that question now to our next guest. He is the head football coach, yet again, of the Norview Pilots in Norfolk. He's also the athletic director there. The Pilots primed to make some more noise in Norfolk and the Eastern District out of Class 5 this year. We say good morning to Coach Delton Cotton. Coach, how's your summer going?
Oh, going pretty well. Excited to get back. That year off took a lot out of me. So, but it's going well. It's been a good summer.
Yeah, we'll get through a review of your decision to come back to the sidelines, if you will, as well as touch on your team. And also, if we can get Ed Young in another blue suit, perhaps sometime this year or later. As we know from a few years ago with your playoff game, he had to pony up and do that. But first, we were just talking about the instant replay, Coach. I know it's very unlikely, it sounds like, for this year, even for the postseason, especially around here. I've heard it's pretty much almost been all but ruled out for this year around here. But your thoughts on instant replay? Is it feasible, A, in our state, and B, would you be a fan of it?
I don't think it's feasible. I mean, again, I've heard a little bit of the conversation you guys were saying, and it's entry level football for most people, most officials, unfortunately they're gonna get some of them right, and I hate to say a lot of them wrong, but I just think that it's in the state of where we at with the cost of high school sports is near about impossible for us to trying to implement something like that. I think it'll end up rolling into charging kids to play football, and I don't think that'll be good.
Yeah, Coach, Ed Young here, and welcome back to the sidelines. I don't know how you're going to do it, athletic director and coaching. It's a lot to it, but going into that idea of change, and of course now you've had that experience as on the administration side, heavy into the money situation with all athletics, let alone coaching your sport, football, which is so big, not in only the state of Virginia, but in the country. And as a basketball coach, I was telling Matt, I just didn't see where schools are readily going to be able to buy all that equipment and get all that stuff done. And then you have to have the right people monitoring it so it comes across. I mean, I understand we try to get things right like the colleges and the pros, but I just don't think high school, it's feasible, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's going to be it'll be one of those things that and if I can see it happening, but again, you got to plan years and years and years ahead for that kind of stuff. And you're right, being on the administrative side, I got a better view of finances and what it takes just to run a football program. You got schools up in Northern Virginia area or different places all over the country that they charge their kids $200, $300, $400, $500 to play football. Again, I think it would turn into one of those things that, that wouldn't benefit a community like our community, the Tidewater area where, the majority of our kids and our parents are middle-class parents. And I think, got to take a real good look at whether that'll be accessible or not for us.
Coach, you mentioned that paying the fee. Now, that is something I've said all along that I think that is going to come into play, where kids are going to pay an activity fee. If you're in an activity, you're going to have to pay X amount of money. Hopefully it ain't a lot, but to me, it just seems like a major sin that the school boards are not allotting the right type or right amount of money to athletics. And we all know academics, first and foremost, by far the most important. But I'll tell you what, athletics and other activities is the support beam under that to make that stuff work. And I don't understand why school boards, I don't want to hear, well, we don't have the money. Find the money. This is the future of a city. These kids that need to be active and involved, all kinds of activities. Find the money and put the money into these kids. But because I think when you start making some parents pay, especially in some of these situations where they just really can't afford it, you're going to see some kids not being able to play, and that is a major sin. Right,
and to be honest with you, I think we are, and I say we, in the city of Norfolk, I think we're so fortunate with, the way our administration, Steve Sutmiller, and of course the superintendent and the board members, the way they support what we need for sports. I really feel like they kind of go above and beyond, and I know it's not that way with every city or every team, but I really again, I have to tip my hat off to we have one of the best, I think, around when it comes to the head athletic director of the whole city of guys that just try to put stuff in place to give you a fair opportunity to win, to compete, and to just to be good. So, but again, I think it just put more pressure on them Our economy right now is not in the, I know they say it might be in a better place, but it's not in the best place. And, I'm not saying football is important. I think it's very important, but I think, adding, rules and different things to that, that would cause us to have to spend that additional money would probably, be, detrimental to us a little bit. So.
We're chatting with Delton Cotton. He is the head football coach and athletic director at Norview High School in Norfolk. Our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. And Coach Cotton has coached quite a few great ones, Ed, going back to his days at Maury with Cam Chancellor, Leroy Reynolds, Vincent Pater, and some pros. And then most recently at Norview, the first stint with DJ Mack, now at Central Florida, Kevin Marks at Buffalo, and so many others, Ed.
Well, Coach, based on all that, I got to ask you, why in the world did you come back on those coaching sidelines and the 100-degree heat in the summer and kids all over the place? And why did you come back on that sideline?
Well, I felt like I had to. Our situation was a little unique last year. We had, Coach Chavis and as the coach, and he kind of decided that he wanted to move in a different direction. And, I just didn't want to put this group of kids in a situation where, here we go again. It's another new face coming in, and, here we go. We got to start over again. And so I just kind of felt obligated, met with the principal and actually met with the superintendent at that time and just said, you know what, let's see if we can get this thing back moving in the right direction. And, to their defense, they've provided us with some more support as an athletic director. So it's been great.
Well, one of the things, you don't have to go far to ask your AD to get this or that. So that was pretty cool. Back in the day, a lot of times athletic directors and even some of the smaller schools would coach a sport or two. But we all know, and if people don't, I'm here to tell it because I was an athletic director early in my career. Athletic director position is absolutely a full-time administrative position that should have a full-time assistant and a student assistant. So my thing is, and then we got into the point where a lot of the athletic directors weren't coaching anymore. And some of the districts actually kind of made it a rule where if you're athletic director, that's a full-time position, you can't coach. How does that work in Norfolk? Were there any extra hoops that you had to jump through because of that in order to retain your position as athletic director? How did that process go?
Well, of course, again, the situation, I guess each school individually has their own issues. And when we had the issue with the football coach leaving after a year, it was a special situation. So, I know this is not a practice that they have in Norfolk to do, but, again, they've provided some support. Our principal has provided me additional support, and particularly during the football season to kind of relieve me of some of the athletic director duties, and I think it's been great because it's been occurring this summer. So it's been one of those things where again I think it's definitely a 2-man job or maybe even a 3-man job to do both, and but I'm so glad and so proud that the administration has decided to allow me to get back into it and also help me, give me some assistance on getting the program back where it needs to be, and also maintaining a great athletic program.
Couple more minutes here with Delton Cotton, head football coach of the Norview Pilots, here on High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. Coach, you bring back your quarterback in Marquise Dietz. He's a very versatile athlete who also has played wide receiver, has some Division I offers at the FBS level, if I'm not mistaken, at wide receiver. Tell us more about him and some pieces we should watch for on the offensive side, then flipping it over to the defensive side.
Well, Marquise Dietz is an amazing young man. Not only is he a very good football player, but he's a great student, and his mom has done such a tremendous job of just preparing him for being a young man, and he's learned how to be a leader and had to learn early. You know, I mean, he's only going into his junior year, and but you know, he's one of the first kids here and one of the last kids to leave, and you know, I think he takes it as a challenge that he's going to outwork anybody, and you know, that's a testament to him and just the way of, you know, the way he's been brought up and all that kind of stuff. But you know, Marquise has done a heck of a job. You know, we also have offensively. I feel like we got a really good core of wide receivers, and you know, we got a few veteran offensive linemen coming back, which is huge. And you know, we got you know, of course, we got a running back coming back, Maud Aspie, Tank's little brother. So that's what I always called him, Tank's little brother. But you know, we have quite a few kids that has just, you know, continue to work to get better, and I look forward to us offensively, you know, having a good year on the offensive side of the field.
Well, and before we let you run here, Coach, give me sort of the outlook of the Eastern District. One of your former guys over at Maury, Doree McCain's got them rolling. We know Hank Sawyer's been the king of the mountaintop for so long. Robert Jackson's back in the mix, coaching at AD as well over at Norcom. Very competitive district. And any chance we can get Ed Young to agree? You play your first game of the year against Nance. Whenever I know you being AD, you can't get involved in all this, but maybe if somehow the Pilots win this game, we can get Ed to get blue hair this year. You like that idea, blue hair?
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I think that'd be an awesome thing for him. And I think he would look good in blue hair.
Oh, no doubt.
You know, again, the suit was perfect. I mean, he wore it with a lot of pride. And, you know, I think the hair would just, you know, take him all over the top.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for your residuals to help with that suit. Years later, since you were coaching your butt off on that sideline to win that game. Not because you want to see the youngsters win. You want to see me parade around on the sidelines with a blue suit. And as Armani suits do not come cheap.
Oh, I know that's right. I know your taste is very, very high. You got a high class of taste.
Well, somebody once said if you can't be good, you better look good. So I'm kind of a reflection of that.
I heard that. I understand that.
But Coach, the district in general, I mean, this is probably as good as the Eastern District's been, and it's been good in recent years. But would you say, and perhaps ever, I mean, the talent throughout the whole district, from school to school, Norfolk and Portsmouth, is right there.
Right, and you know, we're not even talking about you know, a Grammy program that, you know, right now he may not have the numbers out there, but Coach Archie, you know, honestly one of the best that's ever done it out there. You know, we're not talking about him. We're not talking about Churchland, who, you know, I know they've had a really good off season, and you know, and so, you know, again, Wilson is improved. So I think you're right. I think it's going to be very, very competitive. You know, I think you know, all the coaches in the Eastern District has kind of taken it personal. That, you know what, in Norfolk and Portsmouth, we got pretty good football players too, and you know, again, a lot of times we felt like we didn't get the, you know, the press or anything we needed for that. But you know, I think they're taking it personal, and everybody will step their game up, which is expected and should be expected.
Well, of the 5 districts here in Hampton Roads, no district with more coaches that have career-winning records than the Eastern, with 5 of the 8 schools, and one of them, Delton Cotton, the head football coach and athletic director at Norview High School in Norfolk. We'll be watching you coming up August 30th in the opener against Nansemond River and throughout the season. Thank you so much, Coach, and we'll talk to you soon, all right?
All right, thank you, and then get that blue hair ready.
Hey, Coach, I wish you luck at every single game except one. I'm going to leave it at that.
I understand. I appreciate it, though. Thank you guys for all that you do for high school sports.
We appreciate
it.
Coach. Thank you, Coach. That is Delton Cotton, our guest here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. We got Kermit Buggs, head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs, around the corner. It's High School Sports Talk. Don't go anywhere. It's ESPN Radio 94.1.
Now back to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Here's Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
Welcome back to High School Sports Talk here on ESPN Radio 94.1, presented by VirginiaPreps.com and Larry King Law. With the Coach Ed Young, I'm Matt Hatfield. And Ed, we have a special guest on the line. He is a former college football assistant coach at Penn State University, Old Dominion. Oh, you might remember those Surrey Air Cougar days, state champions, and now the head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs in Suffolk, where today they have a mattress fundraiser going on at Kings Fork High School, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And here to tell us all about it is Coach Kermit Buggs. Coach, thank you for coming on the program. How's your summer going?
Everything's going well, Matt. How are you doing?
Not too bad. And I'm going to get you hooked up today here, Coach. Ed Young tells me he is in the market for a mattress, so there you go.
Yes, sir. We got them all. We got them all, ranges from twins to all the way up to kings and all kinds. We got the Sealy's. We got everything you want. We got mattress firms. We got it all. So if you come on in and check it out, there's cash or credit, and we also have financing available, and they will free deliver. So we got it all out here for you today at Kings Fork. It's a busy day out here, so come on out here, watch some basketball, and then also look for a mattress.
There you go, Ed. Free delivery. That's news to your ears. Free.
Anytime it's free or clearance, those are my name brands.
That's right, Coach Young. Yes, sir.
Coach, I got to tell you, congrats on the job over there at Kings Fork. Coming back to the high school level. For those who don't know, you did set the world on fire and with the Surrey Cougars. And then, of course, you took the jaunt to the college level. But for our listeners that are not that familiar with you, let's do this, if you would. Let's go all the way back to your playing days, high school, right on through. Go through your early coaching. Take us all the way through it, right up to the Kings Fork appointment.
Well, I was a quarterback at Kickintan High School for Kurt Newsom back in the days. I graduated from Kickintan in 1990. Went on to play at Norfolk State. You know, when you had Coach Wright on earlier, when he was a senior at Norfolk, I was just coming in. I was a baby boy. I was a freshman. So I got a chance to play there and played all the way through my 4 years at Norfolk State, and then left and went on to Surrey County and was an assistant coach for a guy named Willie Gillis when we went to state championships with him, and Willie won it in 98 and left and became the offensive coordinator at Virginia Union, and then that following year I became the head coach at 27 years old and went 14-0 and won the state championship the following year and stayed in Surrey a couple more years, and then went to be a graduate assistant for Coach Joe Paterno at Penn State and stayed at Penn State for 3 years, and then I was leaving, actually coming back here to become the head coach at Lakeland High School for Mr. Hawkeye Whitley, who's now the principal of Western Branch. But Coach Paterno called me in his office and was like, I got something for you to do, and I became the second player personnel director in all of college football. So then I did that for a year and a half, and then I was getting out my shower one day at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Coach Norwood had left to go to Baylor to be their defensive coordinator, and I became the safeties coach at Penn State. So after that, the history has gone from there, and done some good things, and had the opportunity to come back here to Old Dominion and work for Bobby. Enjoyed my time there, and now I'm here at Kings Fork, hoping to take these guys to heights unknown.
Coach, obviously, those don't remember, you were a very, very good player at Kickintan. I came back in here, I think it was in '84, and I do remember you were a hard guy to tackle, and you can pitch that thing a good distance. So I'm not surprised at the success that you've had on the coaching thing. I'm obviously intrigued, being a Pennsylvania guy. Penn State football is religion up there. Yes. Joe Paterno had been for many years the unknown governor of Pennsylvania. He was more well-known than any person in Pennsylvania, and the stories. Unfortunately, a bad ending with the Sandusky stuff and all that craziness. But I want to ask you to focus on what was it like to be under a true legend in the coaching business, very successful, seemed to be a down-to-earth guy. What was it like those years at Penn State?
Well, working for Coach was the greatest time of my life. He was like a second father to me. One, because I've been around him for so long. My dad had worked Penn State camps for 33 years, so it wasn't like I wasn't a part of the family when I got there. My dad had already laid that foundation for me as we got there, as he was one of Coach Paterno's, right-hand guys down here in the South that he used to bring up, to work camps for him and help him recruit down here back in the day. So when I got there, I was really already a part of the family. The other part about it is my family, my grandmother lived in Brooklyn on Hancock Street. So, Coach being from Brooklyn, so that automatically put me in with him, being a Brooklyn Knight. So But it was great. He taught me a lot about dealing with people first and foremost, and the understanding of dealing with young men. He was one of the most adaptable people in the world at understanding what young men wanted and what they needed out of their lives. He would bring guys in all the time and bring people over to his house with his wife Sue, and they would make things work for the betterment of the whole child. It wasn't all about just Penn State football; it was about the betterment of him, of the person. So those things are lasting memories that last with me and stay with me all the time. People always say in the end was Coach involved? Yeah, Coach was highly involved till the end. He would come in the morning. He would meet with us. He would go back home to his office at home, and your phone would ring about 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and he would say, I don't like this, I don't like that, I like this, put this in, take this out, we're going to move this out of practice. So he was still highly involved all the way to the end, unfortunately, like you said, with Coach Sandusky, those things happen, and then we didn't get a chance to finish it out on the right way. But, I always cherish my years there. Luckily enough to get my master's degree from Penn State, so I'm a Penn State alumnus, so I'm really proud of that.
Well, like I said, you're with a true legend, and as a young coach and learning from all coaches of all sports, one of the things I got from Paterno that people had said he was very, very good at, and maybe one of the best ever, was not just recruiting a kid, but he was great at recruiting the family, the parents, and he had a knack of knowing things about that family that people were like just gravitated towards, and that's not easy in this business at any level.
Not at all. We would do a thing where he would have a dinner set up for the parents at the house and a social at night after especially on official visit weekends where the kids got to go out and hang with the fellas. But he and Sue would open their house up to him and bring them in, and he would have carolers come over, and he would sing with them. With the carolers, it would be the Penn State carolers from the university. He would get up there and sing Christmas carols. He would get up there and sing the fight song. He would do it all.
Chatting with Kermit Buggs. We're chatting with Kermit Buggs, the new head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs, our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. And Kings Fork has its mattress fundraiser today over at Kings Fork High School. Go on out. All the purchases benefit the football team. Get yourself a mattress. And, Coach, let's talk about some of these Bulldogs that are going to be watching. We'll be watching this year on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. We've had you on when you got hired back in the spring, and you used that motto of fun, fast, and ferocious, if you will. Tell us about some of these names we should watch for offensively, then defensively as well.
It's some of the same people who were here last year. Leo Weddington is going to be the number 1 tailback. Kahari Rogers will be the number 1 wideout. We're still searching for who's going to be the lead at quarterback. On the defensive side of the ball, we'll probably be led by, Garrett Williams, who will be back after last year. And I don't know if you just saw it on Twitter, but Garrett has just committed to Temple today.
Oh, did he? Wow.
Yep, so we're excited about that. And defensive line-wise, we're going to have some young kids who were on the JV last year. They're going to be big players. Kyrie Mostert and a kid named Tavius Higgs. They're going to be good defensive ends for us. And we got some young corners, but they're going to come around and be some good players. We got another kid named Rusty Knight, who's a veteran, who transferred into Kings Fork, but he's going to be a good player for us also. So we're looking forward, and we're excited about what we're doing here. Again, it's going to be fun, fast, and ferocious. That's what we're going to do. We're going to play fast, and we're going to play physical.
Well, your background certainly speaks for itself with the success you've had going back to that championship days at Surrey in 1999. And, Coach, Weddington's a well-known name. We know about Deshaun Weddington, what he went on and did. What would you say is going to be the strength of this team offensively and defensively? You're going to be a balanced attack, be more run-heavy, pass-heavy, and then defensively, where should we see you guys have the most success in your eyes?
Well, Matt, nobody has seen anything from us yet, so I can't give you too many secrets. But, we're going to be in the spread system. We're going to give what the defense, we're just going to take what the defense gives us, whether it's run or pass. So we're going to do whatever it takes for us to be successful, move the ball and move the chains. Defensively, we'll be in our same 4-2-5 that was at Old Dominion and at Penn State. So that'll be similar to you guys when you watch it. It'll be our same defensive schemes from both of those places. So we'll be able to get after it. We'll switch it to some 3-man stuff when it gets into passing down situations, but more than likely we'll be a 4-man front. But everything else will be, pretty similar to what I've done in the past.
And Coach, now you've had the uniqueness of coaching high school, very successful, moving on to the college level, very high level, and now coming back to the high school level. How does that affect you as a coach in terms of the Kermit Bugs nowadays, Kings Fork, Kermit Bugs back in the day at Surrey County?
The difference is a little bit of, basic for me was knowledge. When I was at Surrey, I understood the pass game and all that stuff, but protections wasn't as big for me back in those days. We had maybe 2 protections, that we used in Surrey, and nobody was throwing it around as much as we were. So it was new to everybody. But now everybody's so much spread and doing everything now. The key for me now is just understanding the protection part of it. We're going to be knowing how to protect the quarterback. Making sure that he can get the throws off that he needs to get off because, guys get blitz happy here in the high school level. So we'll be able to protect the quarterback and make sure he has what he's done. But the biggest part of it is just the knowledge part of it. Dealing with young men is dealing with young men. The one thing I do find out, and I hate to say this, but recruiting on this high school level is just as bad as recruiting on the college level. Good gracious.
Welcome to high school.
I was like, good gracious. But, like I told the guys around here, those who stay will be champions, So we're just going to work hard. We're going to do what we do. And those who walk through our doors at Kings Fork, we're going to do our best to get those guys ready to play. And that's one thing I learned from Coach Paterno was development of young men, So we're going to develop the athlete, whatever walks through here, whatever his desires are. We're going to try to do our best to develop that and make sure that they have an opportunity to play football on the next level if they desire.
And Coach, I think another point, back me if I'm right or tell me if I'm wrong, having the opportunity to do both levels. I know in my own personal life, coaching the college level for 6-7 years, both Division I and lower level, it helps now as a high school coach to really understand what recruiting is all about because you've done it on both sides. Because we know the college coaches will come out and say, well, hey, look, we only got 2 of you up on the board, and you're going to have to hurry up and let us know about a scholarship offer. And in all reality, they don't have 2 on the board, but they hold all the cards. They hold the advantage. And you, as a high school coach, by knowing that now, you might be able to play the game a little different where a high school coach that has not been behind those kind of scenes may not know really what to do, and I think that's a big advantage.
And I think that's really helped Garrett go through his situation here because I told him not being a player last year, not having much film, camps was going to be huge for him. So he did a great job of the summer getting around to as many camps as he needed to and ended up getting a Temple offer. Once I told him, once we sit down and talk about it, I was like, hey, Temple University is a great place, a great school. They're willing to take a chance on you even though you don't have that film. So you need to go ahead and step out and let those people know that you want to be a part of Temple football because who knows what's going to happen after this going forward if other schools come around or whatever other schools may not come around. So you've had the opportunity, you put yourself in the best situation. So let's go ahead and get this thing done and be part of Temple football so you can settle down on this senior year and go from there. And then for the other guys is making sure these parents understand what level their child fits. That's the biggest part about it. Everybody has those Power 5 those accolades of wanting to be a Power 5 player, but not everybody's a Power 5 player. So I can understand, and speaking with the parents about where their child fits because it's about them getting a free education in the end. It's about using football and not letting football use you when it comes down to it because we're all out here trying to get a degree out of this thing and using God's talents to allow you to do that. So that's one of my biggest mantras is making sure they understand that they have to use football as accolade and don't let football use them and not come out of school without a degree.
Last one from me, Coach. We appreciate the time. We're talking with Kermit Bugs, head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs here on ESPN Radio 94.1. For those that haven't seen Garrett Williams play before, you mentioned he's committed to Temple today, and I also got another kid from the 757 to Temple, and Darian Varner, defensive lineman from Morey, so they're recruiting the 757 pretty hard here. And I know this is your first year coaching, Garrett, but what have you seen from him on film and the workouts as you guys gear up for the season? I imagine they're going to play him at defensive back or safety, and what kind of leadership have you seen from him?
He's been the leader since I've gotten here. He's a workout warrior. He absolutely loves working out. And he was on my radar as a player, as a sophomore when I was at ODU. You know, he did some good things on his sophomore tape that really allows you to stand out and be a person that can be recruited on the level that he has. Now, we also have a left tackle here named Devon Orr, who's one of the best players in the area. Without a doubt. You know, his father's going to be Tim is going to be coaching with us. He's coached at Elizabeth City and at Florida A&M, and he's actually the dean of sports management department at Hampton University. But he's another great player that we're looking for good things out of him. He has a Coastal Carolina offer already and a Hampton University offer. So, you know, we got a stellar left tackle. We got a stellar on defense with Garrett, and so we're hoping those guys are going to lead us to big things. And so hopefully we can take their leadership and go with it and hopefully have a successful season for the Kings Fork Bulldogs.
Well, it should be an exciting time in Suffolk. Fun, fast, and ferocious, the mantra for Coach Kermit Buggs and Kings Fork as they open up the season August the 30th at Smithfield. A lot of change in the Southeastern District, and the Bulldogs looking to go to new heights. Coach, thank you so much. Best wishes this year, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon, all right?
All right, thank you, Matt. And Ed, I hope to see you over here later.
All right, hey, warm up those mattresses now. I know a lot of people want to get a feeling. I know you have no problem testing those mattresses out.
No, sir, not at all.
All right,
have
Kermit.
a good day, you guys.
Hey, good luck
Coach.
to you.
That is Kermit Buggs, head football coach of the Kings Fork Bulldogs. They also have the mattress fundraiser going on until 5 o'clock today, the Old School Classic as well, here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. We come back, we've got Harold Cobbins, new head football coach of the Grafton Clippers. He'll join us right here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Recapping another busy week of prep sports, it's High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1.
It's ESPN Radio 94.1, High School Sports Talk, presented by Larry King Law and VirginiaPreps.com. With the coach, Ed Young, I am Matt Hatfield. And Ed, we have a special guest with us. He is the new head football coach of the Grafton Clippers out in the Bay Rivers District. We say good morning and congrats to Harold Cobbins. Coach, thank you for coming on the program. How's this first Saturday of August treating you?
It's great, man. The weather's great. We're coming off 2 days of practice, and I've honestly been pleasantly surprised with the attitudes and efforts of our kids. So it's a great day for me. Woke up on the right side of the bed this morning.
Oh, that's good to hear. Well, let's fill the folks in on your background. Tell us about your biography, if you will, your playing days, high school, college, where you coached before Grafton, and what drew you to this position with the Clippers.
Got you. Well, I actually never played college ball. I'm one of those guys that's right here from York County. My father was in the Air Force, so we moved here. I think I was in the middle school, got here and just stayed and just made it my home. So I ended up playing for Hovis, Hunt, and Coach Walton out at Tab. I graduated back in 94 and actually went back and started coaching under Hovis when I was going to CNU down the street. From there, I coached a little bit of football, staying at Tab. When Hovis stepped down and Coach Lawson came on board, I got the opportunity to coach under Coach Walton at Grafton. Coached there at the middle school for a few years, went up to the high school, coached as an assistant under Montini and Van Acker, then took a professional job outside of the state and moved out to Pennsylvania. And while I was out there, wound up coaching at a little high school called Northgate High, right outside of Pittsburgh in Allegheny County. Moved back to Virginia probably around 2015, 2016, and picked up a spot working with the middle school there at Tab. This position became open, and based on my, based on my understanding of the area, the schools, my previous exposure at Grafton, I was there for about 10 years between the middle school and high school. Just became the right opportunity at the right time. I wish I would have been able to be hired a little earlier in the off season, but things happen as they're supposed to, and you just make the most of it.
Harold Cobbins, our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com as the Grafton Clippers open up the 2019 campaign on August the 30th at home against Churchland. Ed?
Hey, Coach, congrats on the position there. Ed Young here. Two things. First of all, I want to, when you said Northgate, Pennsylvania, I'm originally from Pennsylvania, Central PA, not too far from Pittsburgh. Western Pennsylvania football up there is a religion. As we talked with Coach Buggs earlier about Penn State football up there. First, I would like for you to compare that style of football up there to here. And then after that, if you would, I know you got the job late, and that's the second thing that caught my attention. So what are maybe a couple things that you feel have to be important for you to get done right now as the season draws close?
Okay. Well, to address your first question, the biggest difference, by and large, that I see between, Western PA and I'll focus right here in this part of the 7 cities as far as York County and so on and so forth. It's not so much, obviously there's different styles of play, but it's more so in the kids. The student athletes up there, I think somebody mentioned it on this call, it's really, football is like a religion. It's something that is talked about, focused on 365, 24/7, and the kids, a lot of the kids are multi-sport athletes, but even those multi-sport athletes, they're always plugged in and engaged in some way, shape, or form with football. Here, my experience here is the kids have so many different options and so many other things, and from a cultural standpoint, football in specifically, I'll say York County, has not been as big of a focal point as you might have seen in the late 80s, early 90s. You go to a game on a Friday night and you take a look at the stands and you can see there's not as much general interest in the area, and it just is what it is. I can't explain why it is like that. It is what it is. And I'm sorry, what was that second question?
First of all, Coach, that's a good point on that, because I've been told by coaches that have done that area and here pretty much the same. You're right on point about how much more serious it's taken there, where a lot of the games stands are almost fully attended. So you were right on point with that comparison. Now, obviously, getting this job a little bit later than what you'd like to, you can't maybe do a whole lot of things as necessary, but you got to do what you got to do. What were some of the key points that you wanted to instill in this program to put your thumbprint on it?
Well, day one, looking at the challenge that's in front of myself and my coaches, we were trying to connect with as many kids as possible. That's probably one of our biggest challenges right now, is just general numbers. But from the standpoint of putting my fingerprint on the program itself, it's getting in and setting an expectation of how we're going to do what we do, regardless of what that is. And we had some conversations, we as in my coaching staff, with the kids, and, they watch TV on Saturdays, they watch TV on Sundays, and everybody compares and sees what's being done across the nation on television, so on and so forth, and what other schools are doing, and trying to get these guys to look intrinsically and focus on the things that they can control, and understand that there's 1,000 different ways to do something, and it's not necessarily what you do, but it's more so how you do it that defines you. And it's going to make the defining factor as to what your success level is. I think those are probably the two most important points. We started practice Thursday this week, and I actually had the kids come in for 2 days. We had a morning practice and an evening practice. And that morning practice on both Thursday and Friday, we never hit the field. I had been, I guess it was 3 weeks ago, hired. So a good number of these kids I hadn't been able to set eyeballs on. So our first 2 hours were spent just trying to get to know one another. I had some icebreakers going into the first practice. Just trying to get them to know who I was, get an understanding of who they were, and trying to figure out what's the best way to motivate them, because every kid's a little bit different. And at the end of the day, if all these kids aren't on the same page and trying to fight for the same thing, we're going to have bigger challenges. So we try to minimize those challenges and get everybody working together. And I think if we can do that, we should see some success.
Chatting with Harold Cobbins. He's the new head football coach of the Grafton Clippers, our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1 on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. And, Coach, I know you hit the ground running late here. And certainly, though, some talented players in the hallways at Grafton High School. Who are some names we should watch out for this coming season and beyond? Oh, yeah, most definitely. Well, even though we've only had practice for 2 days, we've had some weightlifting sessions, so on and so forth. I can tell you I'm looking for big things from a young man by the name of Isaiah Smith, one of our 4 seniors coming back.
He's about 5'10", 180, defensive back, running back, great attitude, great energy, a quiet kid. He comes across extremely humble, but he's one of those kids that I think will lead by example. KJ Davis, a little bit smaller in stature, but he's got a lot of speed. I've got a Max Schrummel, who I think is going to be one of our more versatile players. We're looking at him playing a couple of different positions offensively as well as defensively. I've got Sam Bustamante, my only senior offensive and defensive lineman. I'm looking at him to lead that line group. I've got a couple of juniors that are stepping into some shoes. Rocco Hahn, for one, tight end linebacker, great attitude, came in ready to work, sets a good example and a good tone by what he does on the field in terms of his effort. Let me think, who else we have out there?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of names, Coach. That's a lot of names. I mean, are you more junior heavy, sophomore heavy? How's the makeup looking in terms of the whole group?
Oh man, this varsity squad has 4 seniors right now, and I think we're sitting at 11 juniors. So, when I say numbers is probably our biggest challenge and biggest barrier, my JV and varsity squads combined are sitting right at 32 kids. And so from a coaching standpoint, we are anticipating that we'll get a handful of kids coming in next week that we know are out of town, spending time with another parent or what have you. But our numbers are going to be low, and that's just the reality of where we sit. We're going to do what we can between now and the season opener to try to increase that. But our focus is going to be with our kids in our locker room and trying to get them ready. So we're definitely, between the seniors and juniors, obviously we've got more juniors. We've got a boatload of sophomores. I think we're sitting at 12 or 14 sophomores. Interesting thing is I've got, of my 15 upperclassmen, I think 2 or 3 of them have never played football before. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun, but it'll be interesting.
And before we let you run, Coach, we appreciate the time and look forward to seeing how the Clippers grow under your watch here. Tell us about the scrimmages and what you want to see before you get to that game number 1 on August 30th.
Well, we've got 2 scrimmages on the calendar so far. We've got Gloucester coming up, I want to say on the 16th. And then we've got Verona coming up the week after that. I want to say it's a Thursday, the 22nd. Our approach from a coaching standpoint is we're preparing for our season opener. We want to see our kids come out and be competitive. I want to see how they respond at game speed. I want to see how they respond to those inevitable switch of momentum type plays. Obviously, we have a practice plan and we go through some of this in practice, but you never really know until you get into the throes of it all how the kids are truly going to respond. And so our goal is just to prepare them as best as we can as coaches. But I'm anticipating that we'll come out and be competitive. The biggest thing in looking at my group is making sure we've got our kids in the right positions first and foremost. And like I said, I've got 2 or 3 that seem to have skill sets that lend themselves to a variety of different spots and trying to fit them in where they benefit the team most and get their buy-in. Some of them may be in positions they may not have envisioned themselves in. So it may be a challenge for a young man internally, but we're going to work through them with that. But yeah, just coming out and being competitive and seeing how they respond to game-like situations on the fly. That's what I'm really interested to find out.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time this morning. Congrats again on the position, and I'm sure we'll keep in touch, all right?
Definitely. I appreciate y'all having us on.
You bet.
Good luck to you, Coach.
Thanks. Harold
Cobbins, new head football coach of the Grafton Clippers up in Yorktown, our guest here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1. They open up the season on August the 30th against a much-improved Churchland team. We'll take a timeout. Denny Dodson coming up from Woodside High School on your home for sports. High school, college, pro. We have it all on ESPN Radio 94.1.
This is High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Welcome back to High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com on this Saturday, the 3rd day of August. Glad you are tuned in here to ESPN Radio 94.1. And another one of our favorites joins us. Eddie is the longtime head football coach of the Woodside Wolverines over at Newport News. They've made the playoffs 6 consecutive years, and as good of a coach as this guy is, he's also a classy guy. We say hello to Coach Danny Dodson. Coach, thank you for joining us on the program. How's the summer going?
It's going well. It's going well. It's always short when you start talking about getting out of school and then getting back to football practice, but it's been good.
Did you envision when you came to Woodside, and correct me if I'm wrong, you came to Woodside, was it from Craig County?
I did. Well, I was at Craig County, and then I was at Western Branch for a year as an assistant.
That's right, with Lou Johnson. When you got the Woodside job about 20 years ago, did you think you'd be here 20 years still coaching this group? And you guys are always consistently in the hunt in the playoffs. In a Peninsula District where we know for years it was always Hampton, Phoebus. But these Wolverines you've had have had a couple of years where you've gone 10-0 and you've beaten both Hampton and Phoebus.
Yeah, I never would have envisioned me being here 20. I guess this year 21 coming up. I never would have thought I'd be here this long, but it's been good, and it's been nice to be able to be mentioned with some of those better teams over the last several years.
Danny, Ed Young here, as you get being the veteran that you've been and you're in there, we just had some coaches on that are different situations. Coach Cobbins has taken over first time over at Grafton. You've got Kermit Buggs, who's done a lot of college coaching, coming back to the high school level. You've been pretty consistent. As you approach this year, is there anything in terms of something slightly different from maybe the past years that you're looking to do? Is it pretty much streamlined as to how you want to do it? Take us through that mindset of somebody that's been doing this for a while and been doing it very successfully.
I think it really doesn't matter, in my opinion, what you do as far as your philosophy. We're a wing T team. That's what we're going to be. And that's what we do. I don't think it really matters what you do as long as you have I guess an idea exactly what you want and you do it consistently. I don't think you can jump around from one offense to another all the time and be successful. And I think that's one of the reasons why we've been successful is we do what we do, and I think that consistency over the course of years has benefited us.
Now, let me challenge you on something, Danny. They often say, as coaches, we have to make what we do fit our personnel. We don't necessarily say, well, this is what we're going to do, and doggone it, these players are going to do it whether they like it or not. You have to kind of see what you have before you put your stuff in. I tend to think sometimes that's a little misleading because, okay, I'm going to use an example. You've been so successful at what you've done all these years, and as your kids come into the program, they do that offense that you run. So talk about that kind of a situation in terms for younger coaches to listen to.
I think, for us, we're wing T, but we will adjust our emphasis on the wing T depending on the personnel we have. So, we're not always going to be tight end wing and line up and try to, mash and run buck sweeps. Some years we're better. We might be better at throwing the ball. We might spread it out a little bit, but our base is going to be the wing T. So I think you do have to adjust somewhat to your talent, but I don't think you completely wholesale out of what you do to do something different just for the sake of doing something different.
Now, I will have to learn you like I've learned some of these beach coaches.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Okay. Because you doggone guys, it's round and pound and 30 yards of dust and whatever. When 3rd and 1, the whole world knows you are going to run. I'm telling you, flea flicker, quarterback end around, these things work. These youngsters will do the crazy stuff better than you think. You've got to loosen up a little bit and pitch that thing around.
The summer's gone to his head, Danny.
Yeah, then you do that and it doesn't work. You're the biggest idiot in the world.
Well, I've been called out, among other things, as the basketball coach on the sideline trying some different things, but that's why I couldn't do football. I could not do fourth and goal. I'm telling you, we're doing end around. I'm just letting you know that.
I hope you coach sometime. I know what to defend you on.
Chatting with Danny Dodson, the head football coach of the Woodside Wolverines, our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Wolverines open up August the 30th against Gloucester. Their non-district game follows that on September the 5th against Norview as they replace Highland Springs. Let's talk about that for a second, Coach. Highland Springs, the last 2 years, you played them. They're four-time defending state champs. You know how good they are. My goodness, you glad you won't have to see them unless it's in the playoffs?
Hey, I hope we do make that point and see them in the playoffs. You know, they're a good team. They're well coached. I think that somebody asked me about getting out of Division 6 and not having to worry about Oscar Smith and Ocean Lakes, but Charlie, it's not going to be a cakewalk for sure. We got a lot of good Division 5 teams, maybe as good or better. So Highland Springs is good, very, very good.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I don't mean this in any knock or to get people at Ocean Lakes or Oscar Smith upset because Class 6 is still very good, and you got Lansdowne who's beat you guys in the playoffs the last couple of years, and you've beaten them once before in the playoffs, I think going back to 2016 it was. But, Coach, I think Class 5 is very, very deep, and as you go into this change of classification, certainly you guys still going to run what you run, but tell us about some of the faces we should watch for, beginning on the offensive side of the ball with the quarterback and the backs.
We've got a returning quarterback, Tyler Thompson, returning quarterback. He's a track guy. He's a 10.8, 100-meter guy. I mean, he can fly, and he's back. And along with him, we've got Khalif who he actually alternated with Tyler early in the year last year until he dislocated his elbow. And Khalif's back too. We might be able to run both those guys quarterback, but Khalif will be running our halfback spot if he's not at the quarterback slot. And, he's a very, very athletic young man. At tailback, what we call a tailback, we have probably Desmond Wright or Bryce Phipps. Both of them played a lot last year. They both gained at least 500 to 600 yards apiece last year. Wright had to play the halfback when Jimson got hurt. But both those guys are very, very good at running the football. And then we got a young man, Braden Bird, that he was at Surrey a couple of years ago. He's a big old young man. He's going to be our wing back, and he's very, very athletic. Looking forward to seeing what he can do. And then our split end will be Ricky Key. He's a returning guy. He caught a number of touchdown passes for us last year.
Good deal. And how about in the trenches? Some of the offensive linemen and defensive linemen, they don't get a lot of the glory, as you know, but I know you've had some pretty good ones here in recent years, and defensively some standouts, be it at the linebacker, defensive box spots as well.
Yeah, offensive line-wise, I tell you, we got some questions. That's probably our biggest question. I think, our skill guys got a lot of returning guys. Those line guys, I've got Tony Harrington returning center. This will be his third year starting for us. He's a junior. I think he's been very, very consistent for us over the last couple of years, and we consider him, one of those. I guess he was, his second-team All-District last year, maybe first-team All-District last year. I can't remember. I know he was one of the All-District players. As far as the rest of it, we have Cameron Lawrence started some games for us last year at tackle. He'll be back. And then Will Sanchez had to play some in our playoff game against Lansdowne when my all-region guard got hurt in the third quarter. He finished up the game and actually did a pretty good job. So those guys are the really only returning guys we have on the offensive front. Not sure what the rest of it's going to look like yet. Kind of too early to tell, but I think we got some guys that can do some things up there for us.
And then what about defensively? Who should we keep an eye out for?
Defensively, I think returning we've got Tyrese White is a defensive end. He's really good. I mean, he plays as good as anybody I have. I think he has an offer from Davidson at this point. He's done a good job. I think Bird might play some on the defensive line. At linebackers, we're fortunate enough to get Seth Nawatala from Menchville. Him and his brother Koa both transferred over here early in this past spring, and see those two guys as being a big part of what we do defensively. Sanchez would probably be a linebacker, as well as a young man named Ryan Signoree. He's been he's been consistent for us. He played a lot last year as a sophomore at the running back or the linebacker position. Then a free safety, we have Andrew. He's got an offer from Army and a couple others out there. He's a 3-year starter for us, a free safety. I think he's our leading tackler. And then Demetrius Bailey, one of our corners, is a guy I haven't mentioned yet. He's athletic junior coming up.
Coach, you have a youngster that I saw on the basketball court this summer. We played against Woodside in the summer league. I really liked him, and Matt had told me he does play some football. Jimison, I think is his name.
Yes.
Last name's Jimison.
Khalif Jimison, yes, sir. He's my backup quarterback, and he's my starting halfback, and he'll be my starting defensive corner too. He's tremendous. He's a very, very good player.
He getting some looks at the next level?
He is. I know he's had 2 offers. I think he had. I know if he had an offer from Howard and VMI. He might have some more out there, but I know about those 2. He can play. He's a guy. I think some other people are missing the boat on him. He can play.
I know that Woodside basketball team is very athletic and some big kids. Is there any other kids from that basketball squad that you have playing football?
I think he's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. No, I do have another guy that played. Avery Scott was playing basketball. I assume he's still playing this year. He's playing football for us for the first time this year. He's a rising sophomore or rising junior 1. He's going to be a good player.
Danny Dodson, our guest here on ESPN Radio 94.1. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com as the Wolverines gear up for the 2019 campaign and another deep playoff run that they are hoping to have as they move from Class 6 down to Class 5. They open up August the 30th at Gloucester. And Coach, how do you, size up the competition in the Peninsula District and regionally speaking for this coming year? And I know you got 2 good scrimmages as measuring sticks. We had Doug Pereira of York on a couple weeks back. They're always good in the Bay Rivers. And no slouch, Hank Sawyer's Lake Taylor Titans, who made it to the state championship game last year.
Yeah, starting out with Lake Taylor, that's always a shock to our kids' systems. Those guys, Hank, they got those guys flying around, and they hit you and they get after you pretty good. So that's a good scrimmage for us to start with. It kind of opens our eyes a little bit to what the speed of the game really is. And of course, Doug does a great job over at York. They give us a great scrimmage every year. And going in the Peninsula, I honestly don't know what to think. I know Phoebus is going to be pretty good. They've got a lot of guys returning. Other than that, I really don't know of any team that has a lot of guys returning in the Peninsula. The same boat. We've got some returning guys that are pretty good. We also got some big question marks here and there. So I think we're all kind of the same boat from that standpoint. I think in the region, I know I've heard a lot of good things about Nansemond River. I understand Nansemond River's got a lot of good players and ready to make a run. Of course, Indian River's always good in Division 5, and Northview's supposed to be pretty good.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for the time today. We wish you all the best this coming year. Enjoy the rest of your summer. And if you ever need that flea flicker play, just give us a call. Ed Young will hook you up, all right?
I will. I'll have to get with him on that one.
Danny, I'm telling you, put it in. I'm telling you, you'll be like, doggone it, that thing works.
I'm going to have to get the blocking scheme for that.
Thank you, Coach. We'll talk to you soon.
Good luck, Danny.
Thanks.
Yeah, Danny Dodson, head football coach of the Wolverines of Woodside High and Newport News, with us here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. We'll come back, I think, with a couple minutes and then finish up the show here. Ed's you got any more flea flicker plays you want to throw out there to people? Or?
End around is nice. I'm trying to tackle eligible off the.
What about the reverse pass? You want to work on a reverse pass?
The kids will mess that up. They'll mess that one up.
Oh, okay.
Flea flicker is the one.
But to run the end around 4th and goal, that'll work. Yeah, that'll score.
I'm telling you to work because nobody suspects it. So do it.
All right, 757-687-9494 is the number. Back in a bit here on ESPN Radio 94.1.
Now back to High School Sports Talk on ESPN Radio 94.1. Presented by VirginiaPreps.com. Here's Matt Hatfield and Coach Ed Young.
We thank the guests this morning from Clint Wright of Lakeland to Errol Cobbins of Grafton, Delton Cotton of Norview, Danny Dodson of Woodside, and Kermit Buggs of Kings Fork. If you missed any of the show, it'll be up on VirginiaPreps.com later this weekend. Archived episode you can find there as well. For Thomas Simmons, our producer engineer, I'm Matt Hatfield. You, sir, are?
I'm the Coach Ed Young. Yeah, I just checked my driver's license.
Okay, good to know. And your travel agent tells me that you are going to be on assignment next week, so we'll have to get up with you either the following weekend for our High School Sports Talk Plus video show. Maybe we'll bring you one night in the 757 at 6 and do our NFL over-unders. Since our baseball over-unders, Thomas, are terrible right now. We're not even rehashing those. Those have gone south in a hurry. Thank you for listening. Talk to you next weekend right here on ESPN Radio 94.1.